J.K. Rowling finally speaks up. She's blasting Emma Watson for her recent betrayal of the author that made her a multi-million-dollar witch. Jimmy Kimmel Show is back to tanking after his big almost apology comeback. And Blake Lively is saying, I don't need proof, but I do want those dollar bills as our boy Justin Baldoni is fighting for his life. Plus, our hot fall watch list picks you don't want to miss. Let's get into it.
Show me life, show me love.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Behind the Headlines. I'm Ashley B. I'm a former TV journalist who takes you behind the stories that are shaping our world. If you haven't noticed, we're starting to do these more as episodes where you get to hear multiple stories, and we're going to be doing about 2 episodes a week and cutting those down for you, and also, obviously, some breakout stories because, as you know, this world is crazy with all the breaking news that's going on everywhere. We want to hear more from you guys, so let us know who you are, where you're tuning in from. Do you like how I say we? Like as if I'm not a one-woman band over here. I always did that. I'm always like, yeah, we're all going to that party. It's like, Ashley, stop talking for a billion people. It is literally just you. But I am excited because in the winter, we're going to be bringing on an executive producer to join the team. I have really big visions for this show, as you can tell. And you guys get to be the OGs. You get to be a part of that vision. I'm really excited, actually. Today, I'm joining TMZ Live, and I'm going to give some insight on some entertainment stories. So I will be posting that later today as well, that you'll get to check out of what we were talking about, and I'll kind of give you a behind the scenes of how it went and all of that fun stuff. But if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Join our beekeepers, Ashley B TV. We are the beekeepers. We're going to have some merch coming out soon. And yes, if you haven't noticed, I am dressed so ridiculous today. It is fall. It's October 1st. I'm trying to celebrate that is the changing of seasons. And yet, what is it, like 72 degrees in the Midwest? Climate change is real, folks. Anyway, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 11,000 subscribers. Before we get into the big Emma and Joe controversy, let's talk really quick and catch up on what's happened with Jimmy Kimmel. As you probably saw all over the headlines, he returned to late night with his biggest night ever at 6.26 million viewers. And Jimmy, he was jumping up and down. He's like, thank you, Donald Trump. You helped me get these massive viewers. However, the show is back to tanking. It's now down to 2.4 million views. Yahoo reports that he may have experienced an explosion in views when his late night show returned to air after his suspension, but the number just tanked 2 days later. After his 5-day suspension, it is now a whopping 64% drop, according to Fox News. Plus, to make matters worse, this show saw a 73% drop in the most sought-after demographic of adults aged 25 to 54. The outlet reported that Kimmel, 57, pulled in 1.7 million viewers in that demographic on the night of his return, but only 465,000 returned 48 hours later. If I'm being honest, I actually think the reason is not only do people not watch late night television anymore because they don't watch linear television. Like, we're not just like, remember the TV guides? Anyone who is my age or above. And I have to thank you guys. Some of you guys were like, Ashley's 24. I wish I was 24. I am not 24. You can figure it out yourselves. But I've been working in the entertainment and news industry for over 15 years. So boom. So not only are we not on our little menu on our TV, like scrolling, I know they still have that, but no one does it. But also, I just think people are going to sleep earlier. Like back in the day, back in the 90s, back in the early 2000s, no one is going to sleep early. You're staying up. You're eating that mac and cheese. You're hoofing down your milk like they're telling you to. You're smoking your cigarettes. You know what I mean, folks? And that is just not the case in 2025. People are vegan, they're drinking their green juice, and they're going to bed at like 9 p.m. We are catching clips on YouTube, the ones we feel like watching, but we're not watching full-on shows. So I have to think that's the main reason why. I know everyone who likes Jimmy is obviously very excited for his return. He just did a collab with Stephen Colbert. They're probably both going to follow in the footsteps of Conan O'Brien, start their own podcast, chit-chat it up, and probably make even more money. So I think these two will be fine, but only time will tell. But I think the audience did what we expected them to do, which was they tuned in for that big comeback, and then they fell back down. So what does this tell us? The show is going to continue to fall back down. You know who I actually love on late night? And again, I don't really watch linear television, But Jimmy Fallon, that guy is so talented. And to me, he has kind of less of a conniving vibe. Like, he actually seems very sweet, very much more innocent. And he has made remarks that is saying, I do not want to get involved. Like, I will try to keep my head down. So take a look at this Daily Beast article. Jimmy Fallon keeping his head down after Kimmel's suspension during the late night TV's battle with the Trump administration. The notoriously apolitical host said Tuesday he reiterated he wouldn't be trading shots with the president no matter how many times he threatens to have his show axed. Our show's never really been that political, Fallon told CNBC on Tuesday when asked about what he was thinking about his job in the wake of Jimmy Kimmel's suspension. We hit both sides equally and we try to make everyone laugh. Jimmy Fallon, he's just such a sweet guy. I love all of his clips on YouTube. And honestly, he is so talented when it comes to like performing and singing. Just take a look at this clip.
Come and gone. One thing that cannot be topped was
the escalator that stopped.
Trump. He tried to warn us all, told us don't take Tylenol. He's an expert, so trust him when it comes to
acetaminophen.
You see the difference? Like, it's less conniving and it's more. That was such a funny clip of Trump trying to say acetaminophen, which honestly is hard for all of us to say, but when you're the president, you probably should be able to say. Anyway, speaking of good guys, Matthew McConaughey is one of them, ladies and gentlemen, and he came out with a new book. It's called Poems and Prayers. And this man, ladies, I know you already knew it with his gorgeous voice and the way he talks, you could just listen to for hours on end, but also he is a thinker. I want you to take a look at this clip with Gayle King.
I like this one. 77, Good Man.
Oh, Good Man. Oh, yes.
Do you like this one?
I do like this one. And you know what? A lot of people like this. Do you know who's mainly liking this one?
Who?
Women.
Really?
Yeah. I'm listening.
Guess what? I'm a girl.
Yes,
I like it.
yes.
Yes.
I like
Good man.
Yes.
There's a difference between a good man and a nice guy. A good man stands for certain ideals. And when those beliefs are contested, a good man is not a nice guy.
Yeah.
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 Nice guy's easy to be.
Facts.
Nice guy's easy to be.
Facts.
Easy to have around. But it's harder to be a good man. And I think that we need more good men out there.
Yes, Matthew. We need more Matthew McConaughey in our lives and good guys like him. Do you prefer a good guy or a nice guy? Do you agree with Matthew McConaughey? Let me know in the comments below. My 2 cents on dating is, if you want something different, you gotta do something different. Like, you can't keep dating the same people and expecting different results. When I met my husband, looks wise, honestly, truth, the first words out of my mouth were, I could have his babies. What? I never even wanted kids back in those days. And I saw this man, I'm like, he is so fine. I actually have a video where we share our recap of our first date. I'll put in the link if anyone cares. But he wasn't the suave kind of life of the party charmer I usually went for. And look at that. Boom, boom, bada bing, bada bing. He became my husband. All right, we got to talk about Joe and Emma. After biting her tongue for many years, JK absolutely annihilated Emma Watson after her recent podcast appearance. Now, she appeared on Jay Shetty's podcast called On Purpose, and this is like over 2 hours long. I was waiting, like you all were, for that juicy moment when she talks about JK, because we know it was coming. We haven't heard from Emma Watson in a few years. She talked about riding her bike and, you know, how it's kind of hard working in Hollywood, being out of Hollywood. And then she finally, towards the end, tiptoes around disowning the author who made her a multi-million-dollar, once-in-a-lifetime movie star after they both expressed opposing views on transgender issues. Now, we're going to take a listen to what Emma has to say, and then I want to also break down, like, what was the original fight about? What is the timeline, and what has transpired since then? And then you are going to see how much JK has completely annihilated Emma.
Emma, something I wanted to ask you about that's difficult and challenging, because it's something you spoke about earlier as to being such a big part of your life, an important part of your life. But recently, there's been so many conversations and comments directly from JK Rowling, whether it's her saying she'd ever forgive you for your views, or the fact that when she was asked what ruins the movies for her, she named yourself and some of your co-stars. And I imagine that's an extremely difficult thing when you've been a part of someone's world, when you've felt connected to their work, and then for it now to kind of be a full 180, and for someone to publicly say these things that can be quite, or extremely hurtful, actually. How do you think about that?
Interesting way Jay Shetty set this up of how do you feel that JK has responded to what you've done. So it kind of sets Emma up to more be the victim, which I think is interesting.
I really don't believe that by having had that experience and holding the love and support and views that I have mean that I can't and don't treasure Joe and the person that I had personal experiences with. I will never believe that one negates the other, and that my experience of that person I don't get to keep and cherish.
Now, they have both been so incredibly loud and standing by both of their completely opposing views on transgender people. I actually don't think their views are that different. If you actually look back now on what JK said in the beginning when she started expressing these views, but it was back in 2020. It was a very, very polarizing time. You know, you're talking about the George Floyd times. This was in June of 2020. You're at the height of people feeling like they're trapped in their homes. Tensions are so high. I know at least in Los Angeles, you know, I lived in downtown Los Angeles. My street was set on fire. Like, it was such a crazy time, and political and racial tensions were really at the highest they ever were. So when, you know, JK started the whole thing of expressing her views, it was a really kind of insane moment. But what we never saw in that was Emma Watson saying any of these things. And this took her 5 years to say.
To come back to our earlier thing, like, I just don't think these things are either or. I think it's my deepest wish that I hope people who don't agree with my opinion will love me, and I hope I can keep loving people who I don't necessarily share the same opinion with. And I think that's a very, very important way for me that I need to be able to move through life. I just really, I guess to circle back around, I really do believe in having conversations, and that those are really important. And that, I don't know, I guess where I've landed is it's not so much what we say or what we believe, but very often how we say it that's really important. And that's really frustrating and not what you want to hear when you're really angry and upset with someone. But I don't know, I just see this world right now where we seem to be giving permission for this kind of like throwing out of people.
You know, it's interesting because the time really has changed from 2020 to 2025, and now culture is more accepting opposing views. You could say, well, what changed? I think it's just over time, you know, people started expressing different views. We obviously saw the boom in TikTok and Instagram, and you're saying, oh, wow, not everyone is living in an echo chamber. And Emma, wherever she lives, UK, Hollywood, she's in the Hollywood bubble. She's in that Hollywood echo chamber where everyone, pretty much, if they don't believe the same thing, they're acting like they believe the same thing. So she's in an echo chamber where a lot of people probably think like she thinks. And she was like, I need to say this out loud in order to not be canceled like JK was canceled. But now she's saying, you know, we need to stop canceling each other.
Or that people are disposable. And I just think I will always think that's wrong. I just believe that no one's disposable, and everyone, as far as possible, whatever the conversation is, should and can be treated with, at the very least, dignity and respect.
Now, again, she's saying this 5 years later, and JK has made it very clear she's received multiple death threats. She's been stalked. I mean, this woman is a billionaire, right? And a lot of the world still, quote unquote, at least on social media, seems to hate her for expressing her views. We're going to get to that in just a minute, because she has said time and time again, I'm not against trans people, but I do think we have to distinguish biological women from, you know, the trans community. Now, again, Emma never expressed how much she loved and appreciated Joe back then, 5 years ago. And she also never said, you know, we can have opposing views, but no one should ever be annihilated for them. She never said that. So JK is now blowing up headlines everywhere. She wrote a scathing message back on X. But before we get into that, let's just rewind to what actually started this back 5 years ago. So we have JK's tweets pulled up. So Glamour just did a full breakdown of JK's transgender comments controversy. And in this article, they bring up the tweet that started it all. There's this opinion piece that was created during COVID, and the author labeled essentially women as people who menstruate. And JK said, people who menstruate, I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Wumben, Wimbon, Woomed. Then she doubled down on that tweet and wrote, if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of so many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. The idea that women like me, who've been empathetic to trans people for decades, feeling kinship because they're vulnerable in the same way as women, i.e. to male violence, hate trans people because they think sex is real and has lived consequences, is nonsense. I respect every trans person's right to live any way that feels authentic and comfortable to them. I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the basis of being trans. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being female. I do not believe it's hateful to say so. And at the time, as you may recall, the media blew this up and said that J.K. Rowling was transphobic. I actually never saw any outlet kind of suggest the nuance of what JK was saying. And what a lot of people are starting to come to terms with, JK was expressing views that were really strongly supporting biological females and saying, I don't want them to be erased. Our lived experience is not the same as someone who is transgender. And I think many people could agree with that and would agree with that now, that they're just not the same experiences. So without giving any context, without getting any love and support for Jo and her opposing view, Emma writes this on Twitter: trans people are, who they say they are, and deserve to live their lives without constantly being questioned or told they aren't who they say they are. And this is kind of like a little knife to JK. Nowhere did we see her say, you know, I have opposing views from JK while I love and respect her. And then Daniel Radcliffe came out and he also said, I realize that certain press outlets will probably want to paint this as infighting between JK and myself, but this is really not what this is all about, nor is it what's important right now. While Jo is unquestionably responsible for the course my life has taken as someone who has been honored to work with and continues to contribute to the Trevor Project for the last decade, and just as a human being, I feel compelled to say something at this moment. Transgender women are women. Any statement to the contrary erases the identity and dignity of transgender people and goes against all advice given by professional healthcare associations who have far more expertise on the subject that neither Jo or I do. So Rupert Grint, who played Ron, said, I firmly stand with the trans community and echo sentiments expressed by many of my peers. Trans women are women, trans men are men. Again, JK never said any of the things that the co-stars are implying in their tweets, but it sounds like she was truly trying to stick up for the rights and respect for biological women. Now, again, these are very nuanced views. Everyone's going to have opposing opinions. Everyone is welcome on my channel to, peacefully express your views in the comments below. So JK continues to stand by her original statements in 2020. And essentially, the things she's fighting for is the argument between biological sex versus gender identity. She argues that biological sex matters, particularly in law and single-sex spaces, including bathrooms and changing rooms. She contests certain elements of transgender rights where she believes they conflict with sex-based protections. She's also opposed to self-identification laws. She opposes any laws that would let people legally change their gender without medical or legal evaluation. She's publicly opposed reforms to the UK's Gender Recognition Act and the Scottish Gender Recognition Reform Bill. She also has expressed support for survivors and women-only services. In 2022, she founded Bera's Place, a women-only support center for survivors of sexual violence in Scotland. However, the center explicitly excludes transgender women. She also has expressed her desire for free speech and criticism of hate and defamation laws. She often frames her opposition to the expansion of hate speech laws as defense of freedom of speech. In Scotland, she was investigated over tweets criticizing the new hate speech law, but no criminal actions were brought. And over the years, JK has not only been canceled, but she has been absolutely annihilated for her views, and none of these co-stars ever spoke up about this. So Emma Watson has never spoken up in support of Jo or her opposing views at all over these years. In fact, she even was at the BAFTA Awards 2 years later, and she made this comment.
I'm here for all of the witches.
And obviously she's implying I'm here for all the witches, no matter whether you're a biological female or a transgender female. And honestly, the smirk on her face, you can tell she kind of loved making that little dig. Was that appropriate? Was that necessary 2 years later? You know, a lot of people in 2025 don't appreciate these remarks from Emma, and they don't want people to be canceled for expressing opposing views. And now, 5 years later, Emma says the same thing. Well, here's the big thing that Jo has made headlines with this week. She actually reposted this. It is someone talking about Emma Watson's appearance, and they said this.
Well, I'd like to think so. And I think there are some other positive signs too that things are shifting. When you see the media starting to say trans women are men, then I think we really are winning. But Emma Watson was careful, wasn't she, not to go too far. I think what she's going to find now is you can't sit on the fence. She was a real cheerleader for Mermaids, the charity, and for transitioning children and for people knowing who they are.
There's also kind of there's that clip of her at the BAFTAs, and it was just kind of like a really snidey, there's that bit where she says, I'm here for all the witch, like, but one. Or what, yeah, it was just nasty.
Yeah.
Right when J.K. Rowling was getting a lot of rape threats, death threats.
So whether she is trying to row back from that full-hearted support for transitioning children, or whether she's just trying to get back in with J.K. Rowling in the hope of work, who knows?
So JK, she finally responded. She responded this week and says, I'm seeing quite a bit of comments about this, so I want to make a couple of points. I'm not owed eternal agreement from any actor who once played a character I created. The idea is as ludicrous as me checking with the boss I had when I was 21 for what opinions I should hold these days. So she's saying, you know, they don't have to agree with me. I understand. We worked together 20 years ago. But she goes on to say, Emma Watson and her co-stars have every right to embrace gender identity ideology. Such beliefs are legally protected, and I wouldn't want to see any of them threatened with loss of work, violence, or death because of them. I think that was very appropriate. However, Emma and Dan in particular have both made it clear over the last 3 years that they think our former professional association gives them a particular right, nay, obligation, to critique me and my views in public. Years after they finished acting in Potter, they continued to assume the role of de facto spokesperson for the world I created. When you've known people since they were 10 years old, it's hard to shake a certain protectiveness. Until quite recently, I hadn't managed to throw off the memory of children who needed to be gently coaxed through their dialogue in a big, scary film studio. For the past few years, I've recently declined invitations from journalists to comment on Emma specifically, most notably on the witch trials of J.K. Rowling. I actually listened to that podcast about a year or two ago, and she didn't comment on it at all. In fact, she's doubling down on all of her views. Ironically, I told the producers that I didn't want her to be hounded as the result of anything I said. The television presenter in the attached clip highlights Emma's all witches speeches, and in truth, that was a turning point for me. That to me was very cruel, but it had a postscript that hurt far more than the speech itself. Emma asked someone to pass on a handwritten note from me, which contained a single sentence, I'm so sorry for what you're going through. She had my phone number. So she didn't even want to text JK. I bet she didn't want to text JK because she didn't want JK to screenshot. You got to you have to think of these things. If Emma does not want to be associated with JK at all, right after the speech that she gives that digs at JK, she sends her a handwritten note. This was back when the death, rape, and torture threats against me were at their peak, at a time when my personal security measures had to be tightened considerably, and I was constantly worried for my family's safety. Emma had just publicly poured more petrol on the flames, yet thought a one-line expression of concern from her would reassure me of her fundamental sympathy and kindness. Like other people who've never experienced adult life uncushioned by wealth and fame, Emma has so little experience of real life. She's ignorant of how ignorant she is. She'll never need a homeless shelter. She's never going to be in a mixed-sex public hospital ward. I'd be astounded if she's been in a high street changing room since childhood. Her public bathroom is a single occupancy and comes with a security man standing guard outside the door. Has she had to strip off in a newly mixed sex changing room at a council-run swimming pool? If she ever likely need a state-run rape crisis center that refuses to guarantee an all-female service, to find herself sharing a prison cell with a male rapist who's identified into the women's prison. I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. I lived in poverty while writing a book that made Emma famous. I therefore understand from my own life experience what the trashing of women's rights in which Emma has so enthusiastically participated means to women and girls without her privileges. The greatest irony here is that had Emma not decided in her most recent interview to declare that she loves and treasures me, a change of tact I suspect she's adopted because she's noticed full-throated condemnation of me is no longer quite as fashionable as it was, I might have never been this honest. Adults can't expect to cozy up to an activist movement that regularly calls for a friend's assassination, then assert their right to the former friend's love as though the friend was in fact their mother. Emma is rightly free to disagree with me and indeed discuss her feelings about me in public, but I have the same right and I've finally decided to exercise it. The annihilation of JK to me has been absolutely despicable. And it is astonishing that she has been able to live through it mentally and emotionally with the support of her family. I hope the support of many therapists throughout the years, because people continue to annihilate her, saying that she's transphobic, saying that she doesn't deserve to live, saying that she ruined their childhood. Take a look at just some of the comments that she continues to get on her Twitter. So someone wrote this to her last year: "You are a stupid and horrible woman. My kids and I enjoy burning your books and roasting marshmallows over your pathetic books." JK writes back, "I get the same royalties whether you read them or burn them. Enjoy your marshmallows." So obviously, and that's pretty hilarious, JK is a billionaire, so she has something that she believes very strongly in, female rights. And it truly, truly feels like the hill that she is dying on, because she just fights back any chance she gets. But if you really go through her Twitter and everything, you just see how many crazy, despicable things that she gets. And she has said time and time again, I stand by transgender rights. I would march with you. I would never promote discrimination and all of these things. But the world has canceled JK, and she beautifully, someone said surgically, wrote a response that finally acknowledges the hypocrisy of these celebrities who say, you know what? I'm really sorry you're going through this. I'm here for every witch. So then she gets the applause. She gets the accolades. And what? JK gets rape and murder threats. And JK has to have a huge security team just to survive another day. I personally love seeing people stand up for what they believe in. I think it's important to live in a world where people can express their views and not get canceled. But with that being said, let's not now turn the table, because now people are saying, cancel Emma Watson, like trash her, take her out. And I don't think that that's the point. In fact, JK said, I support you, Emma. I support you having differing views, but let's not live in hypocrisy. On a personal note, I absolutely love Harry Potter. We held a Harry Potter Thanksgiving at my house a couple years ago. I'll share you the video on how we had it. I love it. We experienced actually a local tea shop just this year who have a weekly Wizards tea gathering that's so much fun. They actually just canceled their Wizarding Week because they said that they can't continue to support people who are putting down this group of people. So they continue to believe that JK is putting down this group of people. Feel free to express your thoughts in the comments below, but please be respectful, guys. I think it's so important for all of us to live in a world where we can have differences, whether it's politically, whether it's on issues, and stop annihilating people. Stop, giving people murder threats. Like, it's insane. It's truly insane. These people are probably like your teachers at school or your mom that lives next door to you. And we need to start understanding that is our responsibility to create a more peaceful world. Talk about peace. Let's move on. Let's get into the latest in the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni lawsuit, because the filings this month have been wild. I took a 2-week vacation. I felt like I was behind. We are talking multi-million-dollar demands, unsigned contracts, and a brand new California law being tested in real time. Let's start with something happy. Let's see Justin Baldoni, because this side of him looks very different right now. He was spotted at LAX by TMZ, and when he was asked about this case, he stayed polite and calm, and just seeing his smiling face, I think, made the world smile. Justin's smiling face made the world smile.
How you holding up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing nicely, doing wonderful.
Yeah, very great.
He says, I'm actually doing wonderful. And honestly, he looks good. Like, you know when you just, like, you genuinely are living in joy? You can feel that joy from him.
Got a lot of love, man. Got a lot of love. You're holding up okay?
He says it got a lot of love. He is seeing our tweets. He is seeing our videos, guys.
Hey, man. Yeah. Hey, look, you seem to be taking the high road, man. Thank you. We appreciate it, man. Thank you. Well, we always try to do, man. All right. Thank you. We appreciate it, man. Thank you. Well, we always try to do, man. All right. Always try to do. Listen, man. Thank you. Look, very much. Last question. Let me ask you this.
He said, you seem to be taking the high road. I couldn't hear what he said. Did he say...
All right. Always try to do. Listen, man. Thank you. Look, very much. Last question. Let me ask you this.
He said, you seem to be taking the high road. I couldn't hear what he said. Did he say, I always try to? Let me know in the comments.
The judge dismissed your countersuit. What's next for you? We're not going to discuss that right now, man.
Guys, he looks so good. My husband would say that too.
But you're okay, though, taking the high road here? Positive?
Very positive.
Very positive. There's something about his energy that just gives me so much.
All right, stuff like that. All right, I'm just doing my job. Justin, last question. Look, listen, do you know anything about the guy who tried to serve at Taylor Swift, Travis Scott? Know nothing about it? All right, buddy, thanks.
He said he doesn't know anything about this guy. There was false reporting. Oh, Justin's trying to serve Taylor Swift. He's hopping over fences and all these crazy things. So you have to think, okay, TMZ looked a little bit crazy over there. Why? How were they at the airport? Justin's people called TMZ. They want a little bit of, like, let's get some positivity. He looks great. He looks like he's been working out. He looks like he's ready for It Starts With Us. Guys, we want the director's cut from this movie, but we also want Baldoni coming back. He still owns the rights to It Starts With Us. Lordy, would he have the biggest PTSD. But let's fight for who should replace Blake Lively. Who did they want originally? Remember, they wanted a different actress. They were not wanted, but other people were like, this actress would have been so much better than Blake Lively. Let me know in the comments below. We need to start a petition where we see the director's cut, and I also want to see It Starts With Us, okay? But people loved that he felt relaxed, he felt healthy, it felt like bricks were off of him. So meanwhile, Justin is looking great, feeling great. Blake's side has gone on the offense. She just filed a motion under a new California law called the Protecting Survivors from Weaponized Defamation Lawsuits Act. So basically, this is an anti-slap style law that was passed in 2023. So what does it mean exactly? She's telling the court that Justin's $400 million defamation lawsuit was frivolous, malicious, and meant to silence her. No, I think it was just him trying to defend himself from you randomly claiming SH because no one liked you on the internet. And because of that, she's demanding he pay triple her attorney's fees plus punitive damages. Altogether, this is going to be about $30 million. And here's the kicker. Under this law, it's a California law, so I don't know why we would even be thinking about having this tried under California law. Blake saying it's because, well, Wayfair is in California. Blake doesn't actually have to prove her sexual harassment allegations in order to recover. So the simple fact that Justin filed the countersuit against her, she's saying, is malicious enough. She also referenced a text between Justin and Melissa Nathan where they are saying that they actually believe that Blake believes that she somehow was SH'd. Like, she also referenced a text, and I cannot remember what it said, but essentially it was a text between Justin and Melissa Nathan where they say, I think Blake actually believes what she's saying, which is insane. And she's saying, see, I don't have malicious intent. They do. So she doesn't want a jury. She's asking the judge to rule on this alone. And even though she lives in New York, Blake's team says California law should apply. His company's based in California. Now, here's where things are getting messy because Justin's team is now pushing back with their own receipts. Blake Lively never actually signed her actor's loan out agreement or appearance contract for It Ends With Us, which we always knew. Even after suing Wayfarer Studios, she never gave the court a signed copy. So Sony and the production company begged her to finalize it, concession after concession, and she still refused. Wayfarer's attorney even filed a sealed exhibit showing the contract was never signed. That matters. Why? Because SAG-AFTRA has what's called Rule 1. If you don't have a signed contract, you're technically working without the protections you later claim were denied. So her contract-based claims, they are super shaky. Justin's team is arguing this wasn't an accident. They say Blake deliberately refused to sign so she could use her status as leverage, pressuring the studio for more control, threatening to withhold promotion, even dangling promises of a signed agreement if she got a cut of the film. Obviously, this is painting a very different picture, not someone abandoned by the studio, but someone who abandoned her own protections to play hardball. Don't forget, in all of this was playing out, Sony itself was in the chaos, executives cycling in and out, divisions reorganized, the studio being called a mess by insiders. That instability only magnified the breakdown around the movie. His attorney, Brian Friedman, had promised proof, and now, with the unsigned contract on the record, his side is saying, here you go, here are the receipts. So overall, let's get a handle on this, okay? Blake wants the judge to rule that Justin's countersuit was malicious and that he owes her tens of millions of dollars in fees and damages. She says California law applies even though she lives in New York, and she's using things like this text message to prove that she was in fact acting in good faith. On Justin's side, on the other hand, he's saying, hold up, she never signed her contract. She played the system, and her claims about a hostile environment, they look more like chaos that she was creating herself. So the judge, he has options, okay? He could grant Blake's motion, which would be a massive financial and a PR win for her, or he could reject it, saying that California law, well, it doesn't apply here. Or, and this one's very possible, he could punt, asking for more briefing on whether this new law even fits the case. And Blake is doing essentially what Justin's doing, and she's like, look, I am living my best life. I am in red, looking like a devil. What am I talking about? Her latest posts right now. I swear she does not care about acting, guys. All she cares about is alcohol. Proof of that is her latest Instagram post. Look at this. All I care about is alcohol. Thank you to the Wine Spritz for premiering Betty Buzz and Betty Boots and Betty Crocodiles. And ooh, she is looking good. I mean, that is a little sussy little get up. She is looking good, but she is also in red, so it reminds me of being a devil. She's got this kind of childlike grin that makes you feel like she's innocent. Ugh, but boy, the red clothes, the alcohol that she doesn't even drink, it is all giving guilty vibes. So what do you think about this? What do you think's honestly going to happen in the end of this? Perez said something on Steve Flaw's podcast a few weeks ago, and I was like, I agree with Perez. This is going to be very anticlimactic for the public. They are going to settle this out of court, and they're going to sign NDAs, and no one's ever going to know what happened. And Justin will go on, and Blake will go on. Hollywood is very forgiving, unfortunately. I kind of feel like, though, I definitely feel like Blake needs to sit out for years and years and years. And I feel like Justin, it would be so cool. He's not going to be able to speak on this publicly, and you're going to feel betrayed by that. You were going to feel betrayed by that. Like, boy, we have stood by you. Why can't you let us know what happened? I was explaining even my case with Rover. They're trying to sign away my rights, trying to give me $600. I'm sorry. I'm not going to give away my rights to speak for $600. Or is this a joke? Is this a joke right now? Justin's going to have to sign an NDA, but guys, this is what he's going to do. He is going to pull a Deadpool situation, a nice pool situation. He's going to make a movie that implies, and it's going to give away Easter egg secrets like our girl Taylor Swift does. Okay, before we go, you need our fall watch list. Okay, Here's the show I want you to tune in on. It's Apple TV Morning Show. Season 4 is here. We've got Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon back in the newsroom. Billy Crudup is back, and so is John Hamm. Power struggles, corporate scandals behind the scenes. It is getting crazier and crazier. People used to ask me, is this what a real newsroom is like? And now it's just nothing is like what a real newsroom is like. So I want you to check out season 4. Also, Dancing with the Stars, if you are a linear television type of girl or guy. Our favorite Mormon wives obviously have been competing. Everyone thinks that Whitney Levitt is going to take home gold. She is looking so snatched. She is dancing her little heart out. Jen Affleck is keeping up. This last week, it was TikTok songs. I'm going to be honest, I don't actually watch it on linear television. It's on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, but I do like watching the recaps on TikTok. And I've got a rom-com for you guys. It's on Netflix. It's featuring Miranda Cosgrove. This movie, guys, is so cute. Kind of cliche. It's actually, the theme is kind of The Bachelor. It's called The Wrong Paris. So she's starring alongside this gorgeous, insane-looking man. His name is Pearson Faudet, and it's a romantic comedy about a Texas girl who dreams of Paris only to find herself stuck in Paris, Texas, where love shows up in the most unexpected ways. Watch The Wrong Paris, guys. I honestly could watch it again. It is so cute. What I love about Netflix and their kind of love romantic movies is that they're very similar to Hallmark movies, except they're spicier, and that makes it way more fun. Let me know what's on your watch list in the comments below, and if you haven't already, join the Beekeepers. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you in the next episode, and I'll let you know how it goes on TMZ Live. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Show me life, show me love.